Yo, what's poppin', y'all? It's Brother Frona back at it with another Nikke video. I did say in my last Nikke video that I was on the fence about making this one, but seeing that other creators are making their videos on this same topic, I figure there's really no reason that I should be feeling scared or worried about covering certain leaked content when it comes to this game. Because at the end of the day, if ShiftUp's willing to put some of these things in their actual game files, then I mean they've already known for a long time that people have the ability to access them. So if they really didn't want these things being shown, then they simply just shouldn't be putting them in the game files itself. But of course, I'm talking about the recent leaks that we have gotten during the maintenance when it was ongoing for the Resident Evil collab, and that is of course the speculation regarding the potential upcoming characters for the actual third anniversary itself. So there are two characters that have been kind of theorized so far, and I will say, depending on how your opinion is, obviously for the longest time we've kind of been expecting to receive the four beasts, mainly Behemoth and Leviathan, as the anniversary characters with how their story arc has been drawn on and dragged on for this long. But with that being said, going into the first of the images is actually going to be Nauda herself, and it does look like she actually received yet another minor redesign for her actual standing pose here to actually incorporate the camel in her design, which if you guys remember from way back when during the first days of the game when we got the first major batch of leak content, her original design did include the camel as well, but when we got her first redesign with her new look, it didn't include the camel in it. So I will say it's glad to see that it came back, because that was kind of the main, I guess, selling point, if you will, or like main like unique point about her design originally. So this is her default standing pose, it looks like. We also got an image of her cover pose as well as her shooting pose, which I will say, before getting into opinions and all that, I do really like how these designs look. The fact that they have like after images of her two different poses that she transforms into kind of really just plays into the whole mythical, mechanical, ethereal vibe that she has going on about her. And they also released what looks to be potentially her burst skill animation, and if this isn't her burst skill, then I assume it's going to be a snippet of an image we could see in the upcoming Eden Spear side story that's coming out in October. Which, speaking of the Eden Spear side story, I feel like obviously when it comes to these two characters that are going to potentially be the upcoming anniversary characters, they obviously have to play a major role in that side story for this release to even make sense. Otherwise, why not just release the four beasts? And then I will say on top of that, now we can put on our tinfoil hats and start theorizing a little bit. I feel like the reason why they're not pushing out the four beasts for the third Annie is simply due to the fact that we haven't met the fourth one yet, being Bahamut, of course. We've only met three of them, being Behemoth, Leviathan, and Ziz. So I feel like, I guess, in their minds it would be a little bit weird to go about to start releasing them when they haven't introduced all of them into the story yet. At least enough to be shown. So with that being said, the other character that got theorized alongside Nauda is of course Liberalio, like I said in my previous video, which the interesting thing is, when it comes to Liberalio's images, as for these other ones, they're obviously like clear renders, as opposed to this one where it's just like, basically looks like it's an image taken off of another screen. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like potential fan art, or if this is actually what we can expect her designs to actually look like. But when it comes to my opinions on these two characters, again, Liberalio in particular is my favorite character in the game. She has been since day one when we got the first batch of leaks for all the different characters. One, purple being my favorite color, and obviously being the main palette choice of her aesthetic is obviously going to get brownie points for me. But also, or just her whole general jellyfish aesthetic as well. One of the things I love the most about the heretic characters in general is just how they incorporate their different animal components into their designs. Obviously, Nihilister has the dragon, Indivilia has the scorpion, Behemoth has the bull, etc., etc. But again, obviously, a lot of people's opinions on these two characters, either they love them or they really don't understand why they're even becoming the main focal point when we haven't seen anything about them in so long, which I can't understand. Obviously, for Nauda, the last time we even saw any mention of her prior to the latest campaign chapters was all the way back in 1.5 via name drop in the epilogue with the Pioneer characters. And then for Liberalio, last time we saw her in the story was way back in the chapter 20's area when she saved Nihilister from essentially being taken down by the counter squad. And then recently now in the latest campaign chapters, they brought her back as like an overarching threat known as the Gene Reaper, who goes out of her way to take down any potential queen candidates as well as those with the queen gene. So it is very interesting to see kind of how they're building her up again to be this really powerful threat. Obviously, we know she's extremely powerful with how she pretty much even has Nihilister on the ropes when it comes to them duking it out in a 1v1 situation. But I will say, again, personally, I obviously would love these characters to come to the game. Liberalio is my favorite character, and Nauda has the best redesign in my opinion out of all the redesigned characters in the game so far through these past couple years of redesigns. So I obviously would be happy to see these two characters come into the game. Now, when it comes to speculation on who the potential free SSR character could be that they release with these two, again, I don't expect any of the 4 beasts to be one of them, because then it begs the question of who they're willing to sacrifice to be basically the shitty SSR, free SSR, for that event, which I don't see them choosing any one of the 4 beasts, because again, it wouldn't make sense in terms of how they push out their banners moving forward. So I feel like the only candidate would obviously have to be Pinocchio, which even that in itself, obviously Pinocchio is a huge anomaly of a character. The main thing that we know about her is that the fact that she has the ability, unlike any other Nikke in the game, to evolve and grow basically in the same capacity as a regular human would with aging. So I feel like the way they would go about doing this in order for it to make sense in some way would be to give us a free SSR of Pinocchio in her current form, and then once her limiter that Nauda placed on her wears off and she starts aging again, that's when we end up getting her in an actual rate up banner of her in her full adult form. And again, the only way this will make sense with these two characters being the 3rd anniversary units is they have to be the main focal points of Eden's Spear side story, which I feel like they have to be, right? Obviously with Eden's Spear, when it comes to the main campaign, we just saw it get launched off in our general direction, and right after that happened was when Liberalio came back into the story. So I feel like it has to play off some way in that form where maybe Liberalio was on a mission to try to save Nihilister, since she's currently in Eden being worked on by Cecil and the whole squad there. So maybe she was trying to save her, and realizing she couldn't do it on her own, decided to run away, and that's when they tried to basically snipe her out of the air with the Eden Spear, and how we got her into the main story now. But again, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, ShiftUp over this past year, for the 3rd year of the game, has been very wishy-washy when it comes to the community's overall opinion of them. They've obviously had their major problems throughout this year, which is different amount of bugs and decision making they've been doing, as well as the lack of communication that we've been getting, and they've even explained that themselves in the latest dev note. They're trying to improve on it. So again, I'm not going to try to vouch wholeheartedly for ShiftUp, but I'm also not going to put them down at every possible moment, because at the end of the day, we do know that this game has the potential to be a really great game when they put in the effort for it. And even though they do obviously have their upcoming projects that they're working on, I just hope that they don't utilize the majority of their dev team on those other projects and not utilize them for Nikke, because let's face it, Nikke is their cash cow right now. Even compared to Stellar Blade, it's bringing in the most amount of revenue that they've ever seen for their company in that all the games that they've made so far. So it wouldn't make any sense for them to just give less quality overall to Nikke compared to their other games, when this game can easily be their best selling or best performing game ever for a very long time if they just put in the effort to make sure that the community is happy. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Again, this is mainly just a discussion based video to get kind of just an overall perspective of what people are thinking. Again, I have no problem with these characters being into the game. I love both of them design wise, and even just how the story is progressing right now. It seems like they have a lot of depth to them. Even like with Nauda, obviously her knowledge of the Queen Gene as well as her connections to Deep, I feel like is going to play a major role into after we get the New Year's update, which I fully expect New Year's to be revolving around Anisa's idol storyline to kind of close that chapter of that subplot. So then for the next New Year's, after this current New Year's, we'll probably end up getting like the whole build up for Neon's arc and her potential connections to Deep too. So obviously Nauda will play a big part in that. And then obviously for Liberalio, it really just depends on how they go about doing the story. The developers themselves said that when it comes to heretics, the only way we'll be able to get them playable in the game is if they're on our side, humanity's side. But obviously we know that Liberation, the game mode itself, is dead in the water. It's never going to come back in any form, at least to our knowledge. They don't plan to introduce any new characters into that system, so we can't expect to receive heretics from there. So unless ShiftUp is willing to just bypass that whole statement they made and give us Liberalio, even though she might not potentially be on our side, then the only way that it can make sense is if we end up creating a pact with Liberalio, similar to how we did with Nihilista when we got her for free through Liberation, in order for this to somehow make sense with her own previous statements. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I want to keep this one relatively short because at the end of the day, we can only do so much about discussing, just leaked images and whatnot. But again, I have no problem with these two characters coming to the game. I actually would prefer them at this point over the 4Bs personally, just because again, they've been drawn on for so long that it's like, I honestly don't even care about them anymore. Really just Leviathan, with how the writing team kind of just assassinated her development in her character. It just feels like the Grave 2.0 all over again, but way worse, because at least with Grave's storyline, we had more mysteries about just the area in general, like the whole crystal region, the 2 crystals, the Harmony Cube, the A pillars, and all that good stuff. Whereas with this current 4 Beast arc, it's just like Leviathan's just creating turmoil for no reason based off traumas that she's had for the past 70 years, which so far with our current knowledge of her backstory in the game, literally is no one else's fault other than her own. So it's like, why are you so adamant on giving us this runaround when it's like, to our knowledge, no humans have really done you wrong, at least in your current heretic life. Obviously prior to her being a heretic and a Nikke, that's a different story, but other than that, it's like, how much more baggage are you really holding on to make this whole arc feel as dragged on as it is, when Behemoth and Z's are more than willing to cooperate with us and be on our side, but you're the only one that's just basically holding everyone back. So again, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously with the latest story, with how it's progressing, we're pretty much crash landing into the 4 Beast hideout, so I'm sure we'll end up meeting Behemoth in the upcoming new campaign story for Anniversary, and I'm sure that's how they'll probably try to build up them for potentially being maybe the 3.5 and 4.0 characters. Again, it's really hard to kind of tell with the 4 Beasts, since there are 4 of them. Obviously no one wants to have a quadruple 1% banner at the same time, so I doubt they're going to do that, because it's just only going to cause drama and controversy with the community. So again, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. It's your brother Frona. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace out, y'all.